All right, check, check. I want to open this event. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. It's just beyond exciting that we're in person. This is only our second event in 3+ years. Our last event was a month ago, and we had about 40 people. We're over 50 plus here, and don't know where the live stream's at, but I don't care. So I'm just thrilled we're all here. As president of ASMP MSP, I'm just honored to have everyone in this space. It feels really good. Can everyone hear me? Okay, cool. There's a few empty chairs up here for the shy. They got to work on their social skills. Okay, so I'm going to put my phone down. Couple things. This will be brief before we get into why we're here with this amazing panel of awesome people. So, need to shout out our amazing sponsors, which makes this all possible. Every event we do, all the strategy that goes on behind the scenes. We've got West Photo. They're the big retail showroom and gear rental in town. We all know and love them. Studio Q, another amazing rental studio. They also really like shooting food and supporting those projects. Sony Pro Imaging, for anyone who's shooting Sony, you know what that's all about. If you're not, you should. I'm a Sony guy. It's really, I will say the menus are crazy, but amazing once you figure them out. And I hope they didn't hear that. Sidecar Studios, another amazing, beautiful studio, rental production. Everything from small to huge projects there. Acme Stage and Lighting, Tasty Lighting, over there. Most of these banners have QR codes, some don't. So if you want to connect directly to those resources, please do that later. So Acme Stage and Lighting, they hosted our last event. Thank you. If anyone's here from them, is anyone here from Tasty? I don't know. Cool. Anyway, next, and then there's Shelter. So Shelter's a huge studio with rental gear and also importantly delivery. In this community, it's a big deal. So Shelter is also our host at this event, so I really want everyone to acknowledge that. If you see, there's a few Shelter team members here back in the corner there hanging out by the van in the hat and in the blue shirt. They're awesome. So don't trash the place. Workbook, which is not one of our annual sponsors, but Workbook has stepped up to be our food sponsor tonight. So those of you who know what Workbook is and those who don't, they are a very high-level national marketing strategy source book, basically, with all kinds of resources in there. So they've been very, very supportive, and we're very excited. The rep couldn't make it because she has a knee repair that's happening out of Chicago, but just want to really thank Workbook for all our nutrition tonight and the beverages. Eat up, and please talk with people you don't know, because one of our big missions here at ASMP is about building this community. So do your part. Thank you. No pressure. Couple other quick things. ASMP scholarships. We've been able to award recently our Lance McNair Memorial Scholarship, which was established after his death. We have an emerging associate photographer this year. Our most recent recipient is Imani McCrae. Is he here? I think he was going to be here. Maybe he'll come in. Anyway, he is an awesome photographer doing some really amazing social justice work with a very unique eye. We just featured him on our Instagram page. And our Instagram and Facebook are slowly coming to a beautiful pace. We've invested strategy and dollars in social media strategy for this year to really redefine the value behind what we're doing and amplifying what's important to what we feel, which is community. So please repost and acknowledge all that stuff. Also on our website, there is we're going back to scholarships. We are offering student scholarships on an ongoing basis. So if you're in school and or you've just come out in your first year out, we're offering full completely free 1-year annual scholarships to ASMP, which gives you access to all kinds of knowledge and information and events like this. We are also have 2 more of these emerging associate photographer scholarships for this year as well. We've allocated money for that. So if you're an emerging photographer who needs business guidance and wants community, we are here for you. And it's not a competition. You just need to ask. So through the website again. So those are big deals. Sorry, I have a second page. It's all big print though. Social media release. We really want to amplify everyone's voices, particularly creative, but all voices. So we have but we need your permission. So on our website, you will find the ASMP repost your work icon, and it's a 1-minute form, and it gives us permission to repost your content. So we're not infringing on your rights. And that's what we're all about. So if you want to engage, if you want us to be able to repost your content, we will not do it without this form on file. So please become a bigger part of the community by doing that. Q&A will be held at the end. You guys got little white cards to write your ideas or questions on. We'll collect them near the end of the event, and we'll run through that stuff at the end. We're going to keep the flow going with the panel. So we'll do Q&A at the end. But please get your questions in, and we'll do our best to navigate all of that stuff. And it's time to, as it says here, okay, let's do this. I'm so spontaneous. Please welcome Kat Gallagher, AKA Creative Wrangler and ASMP board member, and our super swell panel of 5 superhumans that are creative at many levels, personally and professionally, and I'm going to not go any further. So Kat will take it from here. Thank you all for coming in, and linger, eat food, and we'll see you afterwards.
Thank you, Jake. Thank you, Jake. And just a side note too, we will have a microphone at the end as well. So if people don't have a card, you can certainly ask questions live. We'll also be streaming, having people from the live stream submit questions. So we'll have a little bit of that. Do you have something more?
I lied. My Rolodex didn't work right. There's 3 art shows coming up, photography gallery shows coming up. Carl Herber is one of actually our board members. He's got a fine art show, Just Water. There's 3 cards on the back bench there. You'll see them taped up in the high-tech poster side over there behind the beverages. So he's got an amazing show opening June 2nd. We have the Japan American Society of Minnesota, JASM, photo exhibit celebrating Asian Heritage Month. Photos by Steve Ozoni, a longtime creative in the community. It's at MOA, 3rd floor, near the food court north, now through the end of May. So next couple weeks, awesome work there. And somebody named David Sherman, is he in the house? I saw him earlier. There he is, Mr. Modest. David Sherman, he is the NBA team photographer, both the Lynx and Timberwolves, but he has a personal show, Outside the Lines, that presents a diverse collection of rarely never seen work covering subjects and themes such as social and racial justice and honoring Holocaust survivors. He's done an incredible series on Holocaust survivors, so that's a big part of that campaign or that collection. So please, if you have time, take that work in. And that is the community engagement section of this call.
Thank you. Awesome. Very cool. So yes, I'm Kat Gallagher, and I am on the board of ASMP, and I've been from the agency side, the client side, so both in-house and advertising agencies, and several people I've worked with in various capacities along the way. And I just wanted to tell you why we started with this panel. Obviously, we haven't been together very much since COVID, but it started when we were doing online portfolio reviews. And in the waiting room, we would have conversations with all the reviewers as well as with people having their work reviewed. And we found that we needed that engagement so much. We really appreciated that honest conversation, asking questions, what are people experiencing right now? So that conversation became very inspiring to us. So the conversation tonight will start with some with regular questions, but then it may twist and turn in areas based on what their responses are to answer some of the things that you may have been thinking about. So that's why we're going to hold the questions to the end, because we may get to that question you have during the course of the conversation. It's not going to be question, answer, question, answer. It's going to be very, very fluid in this conversation. So with that, I'd like to introduce our panelists. I'm going to read their bios. Bobby, I couldn't condense yours any longer. It was very long, but because you've done so many things. So Bobby Peacock is a freelance producer, and she's been a freelance print and motion producer for the past 22 years. You would not know it. She was a child. For both photographers as well as on the agency side. And she's produced locally in Minnesota as well as around the country, and an executive producer as well for photo shoots internationally. Her client base is very extensive, and she prides herself in giving her clients, brands, photographer, director, crews the very best experience for their shoots. And I can attest to that. She is a true pro, and she really knows how to get things done with a smile. You'd not know. She doesn't sweat, I think. And she comes from a fine art background, which is interesting and very vital here, because all of the panelists come from different backgrounds. So what you're going to hear are diverse experiences. And she was the assistant director of the Fahey Klein Gallery in LA, with many well-known photographers like Herb Ritz. And her passion for fine arts continues to inspire her commercial endeavors in working with photographers. And she also can consult with them on their fine art endeavors. On top of all that, she's a volunteer with the homeless population in and around Minneapolis, and brings the arts into the elementary schools with the MIA-sponsored program Art Adventures. So you are an art lady, is that right? And when she's not producing, she's a very lucky single mom to 3 beautiful girls and their cat Kimmel in Rosemount, and they hike, camp, read, and explore in their free time. Thank you for joining us, Bobby.
Thank you very much.
Yay.
Thanks, Kat.
Awesome. Next, we have Chelsea. Chelsea Worth is a content producer at Call McVoy, and as a producer, photographer, creator, mother of how many?
5.
5. Yes, you heard that correctly. 5. And modern day Martha. That means she's a grandma trapped in a 30-year-old's body. Her hobbies include gardening, cooking, baking, sewing, painting, and creating floral arrangements. She's drawn to finding creative solutions and making sure that every person and brand she works on is getting the very best experience from start to finish. I knew Chelsea when she was a student.
Yes.
So that's been a while. Oh, and she makes freshly baked ovens on set. So I don't know why I didn't know that
Muffins,
before.
yeah.
Muffins on set. Sorry. Muffins
Yeah.
in ovens. So nice to see you,
Yes.
and thank you for joining us too.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Next we have Kelsey Lee. Kelsey Lee is a photographer, and she's based in the Twin Cities, specializing in fashion, beauty, and product photography. She's worked with clients such as Fabletics, People Magazine, Crocs, and Target. And she picked up a camera 12 years ago shooting weddings. Many photographers start there, and made the transition into commercial photography in 2016 by intentionally using social media, SEO, and word of mouth, the modern way. Welcome, Kelsey. Good to see you. And we also have Dave Lewis, who is a senior content producer, Carmichael Lynch. Dave he's the mainstay with ASMP. And within the community at large, he's parts of various other program advisory committees at schools and things. So he's very, very active in the community. And he's interested in learning, change, and collaboration. Embracing change and working with others is foundational. And as Dave relates, it's similar to a story circle where people share, listen to each other, and the individuals in the group grow stronger. So what's the next right thing to do? What are the best choices for the work? These are the questions he asks himself each day, and they help him keep connected, learning, and always evolving. So Dave has been an advocate for the content creation and art communities for a long time. He never hesitates to say yes to participate in industry events like these. So thanks again for joining us, Dave. And last but not least, we have Sarah Rubenstein. She is a director and photographer, very well known, of 23 years, and she's based right here in the Twin Cities. Her work combines elements of authenticity, emotional range, beauty, and thoughtfulness. And if you see her work, you would totally agree. These combined elements have earned Sarah accolades from many publications and clients, and admiration, by the way. A graduate of Carleton College in 1998 with degrees in, of course, biology and German. Why would you not think of a photographer? It took a 6-month stint as a computer programmer before Sarah found commercial photography, starting off as a photo assistant and transitioned to full-time shooting back in 2002. And she thinks that degree in biology has come in handy as a director photographer, particularly when working in the medical and agricultural sectors. So that's a lesson that no matter where your roots are, there's a way to apply it somewhere along the line. And her years as a still photographer led to directing motion pieces, focusing on authentic emotion and thoughtful story. Sarah's work showcases her ability to work with both actor and real people talent in bringing out their authentic emotions in front of the lens, and her love of expression, authenticity, and beauty, and most of all, for narrative arc and storytelling, can be seen clearly in all elements of her work. She's a mother of 2 children that appear throughout her personal work. And then her passions include photography, really, truly, riding horses, travel. You can follow her recent journeys with her family throughout South America and also in Japan recently, and anything active outdoors. She lives with her husband, children, and 1 parakeet near downtown Minneapolis. We're glad to have you, Sarah. Thank you. So as I mentioned, we're going to have a very fluid conversation today. Pop that down there. But we're going to start with something that I think is on top of mind for many people. And this is not going to go in any, it's not like everyone's going to answer. You're going to have to not be shy and then jump in with your answers. So knowing that we're coming off of COVID, and again, this is one of the first events that we've been in person, what have been the after effects, either positive or negative, of COVID on the content creation world?
Okay, I'm just going to jump in. We're still in it, right? We're just seeing right now, it was kind of up and then it's down, and then it's up and then it's down. So there's nothing we can rely on yet, and that has a lot to do with the economy. Not necessarily COVID, but I think it's a little bit of both. So we're still seeing that, right? And my advice to everyone is hang in there. Just hang in there. Anyone else?
How's it been from the agency side?
Yeah, it's a lot of the industry is the same, in my opinion, where it's like people are still, like the principles are the same, where people are trying to just get the most for their money. Mm-hmm. And no matter, even the thing that was interesting about COVID was that everything stopped, including capitalism, for a minute. That doesn't happen very often. It picked back up real quick. And a lot of our clients kept busy, but now it seems like the rethinking what is the next best thing to do happens more frequently, I guess, in what I'm experiencing. And a second thing is, with what I've been working on, clients want very nimble but very well thought out social things. Mm-hmm. And although they only live for a little bit, mm-hmm. they try to conceptually string them together in hopes that they can live longer. Short videos, stories are unbelievably popular. And it's going to be, I think more and more of it's going to happen with TikTok and other video channels too.
And I know people had to be clever. And people were doing remote shoots with remote control cameras and things. What kinds of things have you experienced where you've had to, there's maybe some innovation that came out of it?
I can talk to that one. I did a fully remote shoot where I was executive producing. We were shooting in New Hampshire. It was a healthcare company, so we had to be extra cautious. We had to follow every rule of every law and health. We were able to travel our DP and his girlfriend in because they lived together. They had their own car. They stayed in their own facility, Airbnb. And the rest of the crew is local. We hired all the local talent, real people casting, and then we art directed remotely. Everything was over Zoom. So we had to figure out how to do wardrobe, hair, makeup, approvals, everything via Zoom, which people had started meeting by Zoom, but no one had started producing by Zoom. We won an award. It was beautiful. It went off flawlessly. It was really, we had technological issues because we were hiking back into some areas. It was nature-based, so we had all kinds of hurdles. But we were able to do it because we just applied the same skill set, but with technology as the conduit, if you will, which we're still seeing, in meetings and pre-pros. Everybody's hybrid now, so there's still that element of like we're learning to work a different way, but trying to produce everything remotely was hard. We found out that if we just took pictures and shared the pictures, we had better quality of color and we could make better approvals. So it was a little bit of a learning experience, but the fact that everyone was able to pivot and work that way and be safe, because at the time, we were still worried about, could we get somebody sick? Could somebody die? Real life situations where we're trying to bridge that gap of what we used to do and how we used to do it with how are we doing it now, safely, smartly, and then, hiring the best people we can. So it was challenging, but it was interesting and fun, and we did it.
I was just going to add to that. So for me, I took some time off during COVID, and I like not to think about that too much now because I feel like we've moved forward. But the things that I've taken from that that are different is we do things like we cast remotely or we cast with videos of actors. Sometimes we get in the same room, but sometimes we're in different parts of the country. So then it's a benefit to be able to do that, do it remotely. Of course, in person, there's nothing like being in person together, right? I do a lot of director calls or photographer calls, creative calls. They're all remote now. And I love not having to leave the office, but I do miss that one-on-one in-person connection with people. And I'll be curious if you all have that same experience and if people miss it or if it's good enough to be on Zoom.
Let's take a quick poll. How many people miss being in person? How many people would be very, very happy to never have to go back into the office workspace? So again, the world has changed. And it's what's interesting is that positions that people thought could never be remote have been remote, and it just proves that you can. So there's always a way.
And I think specifically for casting, it's a really interesting thing because casting and working with talent is difficult and it's personal, and it's sometimes in person you can see how people work together, but now you're dependent on the agents putting people together for you, and self-tapes are difficult for actors. They've had to change how they work, and we have to change how we evaluate them. So it's really different.
And I know with some agency travel, some corporations are still saying no travel for shoots. Has that changed, or what's happening in your experience?
We are back to full travel. So, and we're still navigating all of that too. Like, what does that look like? Are we still working through the fact that we on the agency side have sick days and PTO, but we work with a lot of freelancers. So we're also trying to be respectful that some people still want to wear masks and things. So it's a courteous thing that we're asking our vendors ahead of time, like, what are your preferences on set? Like, I know what the government has lifted all the restrictions, but like it's still nice to just ask people what their preference is because it still is around. Yeah.
So how closely are the true COVID protocols being followed?
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
They've all been lifted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even depending on personal experience, some people.
Yeah, some people, prefer that, and I think it's just good to have open communication about everything. Yep.
Yeah, that's interesting too. So when COVID happened, people were not in their offices. So how did people reach you? And is that getting back to pre-COVID methods now? Or how did you as a photographer reach your clients?
Thank you. I feel like a lot of it has really been impactful on social media more. Like before, a lot of communication and being seen was who you met or emails, and now it feels like there's more talk about what you post, which feels a little bit superficial. So I've noticed that I've gotten more work when I'm posting behind the scenes. So that helps me stay top of mind, where before I felt like I'd want to go to an event, I would want to email and meet for coffee. People are more hesitant to meet for coffee. I feel like that's changing. That is changing. But I think their capacity to see as many people in a week is a lot less. So before, people would be like, oh, I'd love to meet for coffee in a week. And now it's like, let's meet for a coffee in 3 weeks. So if you want to see somebody, or if you want to, get connected, maybe reach out now, because you'll maybe see them in like a month rather than in a week, which is totally fine. My capacity has changed too, but social media is a huge push now for me.
And I would agree with that, because you're catching people in their intimate moments of scrolling on their own personal things, on their own personal time. So if you can stop them while in their personal space of scrolling, it's more impactful, because as much as I would love to respond to every email that comes in my inbox of meeting or seeing someone's book and stuff, which I would love to do, we're not fully back 100%. So it's like this fine line between like, I'm working remote, but I'm also in office, and it's just a balance, and it's just hard to even get to your inbox when you're in back-to-back meetings. But if I can scroll and see really cool images and meet people through social media, it's been really more productive for me.
What channels are you using?
Instagram. Yep.
Is that kind
I
of
have
universal?
a question. Do you use LinkedIn? I
Yes and
hear
no.
it, but I'm like, I don't really think that's good work. Worthwhile time, but
Yeah, I mean, I use LinkedIn on like just to connect with people, but I truly connect with people on Instagram.
2 things. One, if anyone wants to meet with me, just come to Rosemount. That's the easiest way. I can do it tomorrow. I can do it tonight. I can do it Friday, but come to me. I live a little bit further out, so I'm not in town as often, but I do love to make the time, and a lot of people do come to me, so thank you for anyone who makes that time. The second thing is I do use LinkedIn, and I have a really fun story. That's why I wanted to share this. I redid my website. I put it on LinkedIn, and a photographer messaged me, a really great photographer, female from LA, Katie McCumber. And she's like, oh my God, I love your work. And I looked at her work. I'm like, oh my God, I love your work. And we Zoomed like we do now, and we met, and we just talked about photography and kids and life and really connected. And so then after that, we Zoomed with some other young photographers. She's very big on helping people and networking, which I am as well. And I was like, we also have that in common. And so we were like, all right, now we have to get a project. And we just kind of waited and you tag people or you recommend people or whatever. And then all of a sudden this job happened to be in Denver, which neither she or I are local to, but she's like, I think if we get it, like you do this and I do that and I can work as a local. And she's like, we'll figure it out. And guess what? We got the job. We worked together. It took 1.5 years, but it was all because of LinkedIn. So I think every single way you can connect with people is a smart way. Try them all.
yeah, I agree.
Dave, how about you? What social channels are most relevant to you?
Yeah, Instagram is Instagram and my cell phone, like, because a lot of people text me or call, but yeah, I do some research on Instagram, and I still get a lot of emails, and mail is coming back. It's starting to come back. Not yeah.
Are group showings happening now?
We're still doing. I'm doing them remote, just because no one else is at the office, and so to have people come in for a personal visit just seems like a waste of their resources almost.
Because it used to be reps would come in the huge dog and pony show with food and everything else, but I don't know if that's coming back. I've heard of some places where maybe they're hybrid working, and so they'll come in a couple of days a week, and then a rep will come in.
Yeah.
But
We've had a few reps over the last month, and it's okay, but I still feel the most personal, impactful work that I'm seeing is just like personal networking, Instagram. I mean, Benjamin's been in our office. That's been fun. Like people who drop in or set up time ahead of time to be like, hey, can we come and just meet? Like, email me and be like, hey, I want to just meet with a few people. Like, I'd love to do that. We're trying to set up more events and things like that, and that's to come. We're just navigating like how it can be the most impactful, like with just people being out of office a lot.
so what kind of content has changed? So in your social, what is it that's attracting attention?
GIFs have just for a while went ballistic. All of a sudden, everyone was just making GIFs, learning how to make GIFs. Clients loved them, and then once a couple do, the rest follow. Yeah. I was just saying that GIFs was one of the first things that we noticed people were learning and doing a lot of. Yeah.
Sarah, are you doing a lot of social?
I'm social is not my forte. I do Instagram, and I have a different approach maybe than some of my peers, but I don't post any of my professional work, my stills work on Instagram or social, like no client work. I post personal work in the fine arts sphere, and I have my commercial work on my website. People can see it, but I don't enjoy posting it on Instagram, so I've chosen not to.
Well, let's talk about
I
personal
was just
work.
going to say that. Like, I was going to say, I don't think there's a defined way that you need to show up on social. I don't think you need to follow trends or like try to be a content creator or an influencer. I think a lot of times as creatives, you can get stuck in like, well, I'm not going to show up at all if I can't show up in a big way. And I don't think that's true. I think you should just start showing up in the ways that are comfortable to you, and people will tag your work or share it, or start following people that are in agencies or reps or agents or things like that. And you just get to know the person and the photographer as you follow them. It doesn't have to be specific commercial work that we're looking for. We're looking for people as like a whole.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I just personally find it easier to make connections with people when I'm posting work that really resonates with me on a personal note.
Let's talk about personal work, because I know that's a question a lot of photographers have, especially commercial world, saying, should I put personal work on there? I'm a product photographer, but do I take pictures that I shot in Hawaii of beautiful flowers and put them on there? How do you feel about personal work, both showing and viewing?
I love it. Yeah, I think that as artists, we just need to publish things that we love. That's really simple. Yeah. And just keep doing it. And yes, you need to demonstrate capabilities in other areas and put things out there in more of a professional sphere. But I think that it, as part of an all-inclusive package, it's really powerful.
So if you're looking at someone's website, what section do you go to first?
Depends on what I'm looking for. Right? Yeah.
They're about. I go to about first because, so also being in fine art, obviously I love imagery. I've been in photography my whole life, but I like to connect with people. And so for me, I just want to read whatever it is about them. It doesn't even have to be, a couple sentences. It tells me a little bit about who they are without telling me everything about who they are. Then the photography, but obviously a photograph will draw you in, or a story. bit about.
I think it's cool that you go to the story. I think it's cool you go to the story first. I like that.
And tell us about that story. Is it again about how their career path in photography, or is it about a shoot? Is it a case study? What is it that intrigues you?
I like people. I just like learning. I like to connect with people. I like to learn about people, and I think that by the end of a shoot, I'll know something about everybody. I'd be good on Survivor, by the way, if Jeff Probst is watching this. Because it's, to me, our jobs are fascinating and really fun, but it's the people we get to do it with that excite me the most. I can look at almost everybody in here. I don't know everyone, but almost everyone in here that I know professionally, I can call a friend. So for me, it's about that connection. I love our community that we have here, and I don't know. That's why I go there.
Well, let's talk about that, because obviously relationships have always been important in the industry. Do you think they're more important now more than ever? People that need to connection, and then what does that mean? How do you build a relationship with someone?
The moms, yeah. No, it's very important. And in the ways of, I heard someone say this to me years ago, and it was like, forget the golden rule of treating others how you want to be treated. It's like, treat others how they want to be treated. So getting to know someone, finding out what makes them comfortable on set, or finding out more about their personal life just makes a well-rounded work atmosphere. But then also, like, I don't know, I like to show up in other ways too for people. I like to drop letters after every shoot to people that I work with and be like, thank you for your work on set. It was really important. Like, I appreciate you taking time to help me make this successful. It's like showing your appreciation above and beyond, and showing up in ways other than just a quick text and stuff. But texts are fine too. But
that's,
yeah.
like, you are the mom, because
Yes.
I mean, I don't think I've never sent that type of thank you. How many people have received a thank you from a client like that? It's like, yeah, probably from Chelsea. Dave, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I think that was one of the best things that COVID did, is it reminded us of each other outside of our near tier circles. All of a sudden we had to care about each other. We had to wear masks. We were all, like, for people that work in offices, it was different because we were all at home and we were distanced from one another. I bet for a lot of people that really didn't change here, because you do work from home or you don't have a photo studio. Mm-hmm. And I think it strengthened relationships, and for me it broadened them. It just, yeah.
Yes.
I do want to make a plug for something that I used pretty much as a lifesaver in COVID. I think being a producer, I felt a specific role to take care of everyone in Minneapolis, in a sense of how to navigate COVID financially, emotionally, mentally. Like, everyone kept coming to me, which I realized makes sense because I'm kind of the boss. So what I did was like, oh gosh, who do I talk to? So I went to Facebook, of all places, but I found this group called Where's Spot. You guys should all write this down. It's where, like where is spot, Where's Spot. It's a Facebook group. And I tell everyone, even if you aren't on Facebook, get on for this reason. This is a real-time networking entity that has connected me with so many jobs, so many people. But what they were doing in COVID specifically was that they were New York, LA, telling everybody all the stuff from the top and how it's going to affect us. And they were my touchstones. So then I would come back to my community and be like, all right, here's what's happening. Here's what people are talking about. Here's how you do this. Because I just didn't know. And I'm like, well, New York, LA, they're the bigger markets. They have all the people. And so that really helped us. So now jump ahead. I can't remember how many people were members then to now. I can't believe how much it's grown. But for instance, say I'm going to like some small town in Alabama and I need a gaffer and I need a grip and I need a sound guy. Rather than look through any of those production hubs, and I'm not going to diss anybody's way of doing things because teach their own. This is a real-time Facebook group where I go on and I say, I need this in this city, and 5 people within an hour will have people tagged, and I'll usually hire somebody. I just hired a beverage stylist in LA to shoot with me in Palm Springs. And I was like, how am I going to get a beverage stylist? I went, oh, where spot? Put it, and within an hour, I had the guy that I hired, and he was amazing. So it's good to network. It's really good to get work if you can travel, if you have family in other states, whatever your genre of work is, just join if you can.
I know,
it's fabulous.
And there are LinkedIn versions of that too. I know there's an art producers group and everything, and I've used that as a resource as well along the way.
I was just going to say, as a photographer as I've been a photographer for a long time, and I'm also fairly introverted. And meeting new people, making connections, especially when I want work from them, is difficult for me. And it took me many years to sort of figure out how to weave the humanity and what I really thought about people. And it took me a long time to figure out how to speak to people and put the humanity first, right? But also eventually, this is a group of people looking, we're photographers, we want to work, right? One thing that I've learned that has been really valuable is that eventually you have to ask for the work, right? Eventually, in a networking situation, a personal situation, you have to get to the point where you talk about the work. And I think that's a skill set that we can all practice and get better at.
What helped you?
What helped me, I think, the most is working with agents and people that are experienced in this. But also during the pandemic, I took public speaking classes online. At the beginning of the pandemic, I could barely introduce myself on Zoom without feeling nervous or feeling physically flushed. I wasn't nervous, but I just didn't know how to do it. And so that led to taking actually online acting classes where I had to read scripts with people and do scenes with people. And it really opened things up for me in how I can speak to people and how I think about networking. It really changed my ability to listen to people and to not anticipate what I wanted to say before I had a chance to really hear them. So that was really powerful. And it's a skill. It's something that you can work on and get better at. And I just always thought, oh, I'm an introvert. I just can't do that. I can't walk in a room and talk to people. But it really wasn't true. I just didn't have the skill set. So I think...
How has it changed since you've learned that skill?
I enjoy it more, and I make deeper connections with people, and I remember people in more meaningful ways, and maybe they remember me in more meaningful ways. But I think when I speak to people, I'm able to get to something less superficial.
And now you're up here in front of a lot of people.
Good job, Sarah.
I mean, this
Proud
really
of you.
terrified me some years ago. I just didn't like it, and I don't know. I don't mind it now. You guys might. But I'm okay.
To kind of add on that, kind of what you were saying, like the best way to connect with somebody isn't talking necessarily about yourself. It's asking something, because when we are invited to engage is when we connect. And so it's like, it's sometimes even after you've gotten the job or when you meet somebody, but it's more about the questions you ask, which is, I think, what you were saying too, which is, hey, what inspires you as a creative director? Or what projects do you really want to work on that maybe you aren't right now? Or what do you hope to do with this brand that this brand hasn't done so far? Because that's sparking something that isn't just like, okay, I know you're the creative director and like I'm the photographer and I hope you hire me. It's instead going like, hey, I know that you're just a creative person who did this because of a passion. So let's get on the same ground and not talk about who's hiring who, but just like, what do you care about? And we can meet there. And then that relationship starts. Are
you an introvert or extrovert?
I love people, but I would say like I recharge alone, but I would way rather be with people more than when I'm alone. But yeah. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say, and to add on that, I think there used to be a faux pas of like, don't talk about your personal life at work or with people you want to work with, because it should be about the work. And I challenge people to break that down, because I want to know you as a person, because I think that like encourages us to work better together. Like I want to know your why. I want to know like what's driving you or like what you need. And so I welcome that. And I think we all should be more in the industry.
People hire who they want to be with, really.
So
it's-
how does that extend to your crew?
Best crew here. I love our crew.
Because you can tell, as a client, you can tell the difference when the crew is working together and when they're not. So tell us about your experiences with how you hire your crew and why do you pick them? Sarah and Kelsey?
Well, there's a bunch of people here I've worked with over the years, and I just love the collaboration with crews. I love how everyone brings a different expertise to set. I think it's really important for people in hiring positions to take care of our crews. And, I might take a job that I really am passionate about on the creative side, but that might not be true for the crew, right? They might be doing my job and going to the next. And that's okay, right? As long as everyone is working towards the same goals and being respected and getting time for lunch and, not working massive overtime. We need to make sure that the working conditions are favorable and that people are getting paid well and on time and that everyone feels taken care of.
So how did the crew connect with you?
Just personally?
Yep. And just to, let's say we have a lot of people here who not only are photographers looking for work from clients, but we also have people who are a crew that might be looking for work from photographers. Where do you look?
There's so many different ways. I mean, I think an event like this, people send emails and you have coffee, or there's word of mouth. I think there's a million different ways into meeting people, I think.
What about social media on that side? Or what sources do you use to find people? Kelsey, do you have?
You mean to find team?
Yes, to put your team together.
Well, I have a running sheet that I made over the years. It's like a Google sheet, and I break it into categories. So at this point, I evaluate the sheet, and I go, if I'm hiring a digi, what does the client need? And sometimes if an assistant, I'll go, okay, is this a lighting that I really need to be in line with this shooter and they're going to already know? Then I'll hire that. Or sometimes I'm like, I know this client's going to need somebody that is like attentive to their needs, and then I'll choose somebody based on that. So it's my needs and theirs. But for me, finding a team, I mean, at this point, I feel like there's a lot of people that I would say maybe are reaching out more now, to me. But a lot of it's through email. I think it's helpful if I see them on Instagram, and then there's an email, and then there's coffee. Because we know that this community is pretty tight, and I'm learning that if you move here, it's hard to get connected. I'm learning that it's super hard. And so I think just the coffee is a big part, because people aren't hiring people that they've never met with. So if you're in that position, just continue to meet for coffee. Try to, I think coffee is the biggest thing. Yeah.
I would say lift each other up as well. So if I'm following Kelsey and she tags her crew, I can see that in her stories, and I'm going to follow. If she's like, hey, these people are awesome, I'm like, yeah, boom, 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 I'm following. So anyway, you can lift each other up, and you have a really great experience with somebody, or you want to just elevate somebody, talk about them, get them in front of other people too.
That helps to support each other, especially now. So now, Chelsea, your background, you went to school for photography. Now you're on the producing side. Tell us about transitioning. And, we have students here and knowing that, okay, I'm going to be a photographer, or I'm going to be a this. How has that evolved into what you're doing now, and when did that happen?
Well, I've been doing freelance production alongside photography throughout the years. And then, yeah, COVID hit our family hard. And my husband's a commercial photographer, and we were both freelance. And it was one of those, oh shit moments, because like everything stopped. And so kind of had a moment of truth of like, how are all the skills that I've been doing all these years, like jack of all trades, master of none, kind of a little crazy, but like I can like just started reaching out to people in my network being like, I need a job. Like, who's got a job? Anything. I do not care. I would love to do production more for a company. And so I got in as a content producer at Target and just through contacts and did that, and then worked my way into getting into an agency. But it was mostly that. It was like in that urgent sense of like, we have 5 kids and no one's shooting. Ha ha.
Right.
And like during that time, I like made clothes and sold them to buy groceries. I mean, it was one of those things where you fly through your savings and you're like, what are we going to do? So yeah, it was just kind of the ingenuity of like, what have I done all these years? I've planned things for people. I've organized for people. I'm good at networking. How can I apply this to what I want to do?
And when do you know when to pivot? I mean, because that's hard to give that up, give up your dream of being one thing and then changing.
I don't know if you ever really pivot, or you just kind of like keep going in one direction and still doing things. Like I still shoot on the side because I love doing it, and it's easy. It's an easy outlet for me, and I love my client base that I've built up over the years of shooting weddings and families. But yeah, it's just kind of honing it into like what makes money right now, right?
And then we have people coming from the client side and going into the commercial photography world. So it's the exchange program. Dave, how about you? How did you end up where you are?
Yeah, I was cooking years ago at Gallery 8 restaurant, and I was in a couple of bands and thinking about just trying to do music for a living. And the closer I got to that, the less satisfying it was. It just kind of just stressed me out. And then I was looking for a job, and Mark Lefevre, a local photographer, needed someone, and I just took it. It was interesting because looking back on it, I loved cooking, and I still put a lot of creative energy into that. But I'm not a night person. Like I did not want to be mopping floors at 2 a.m. It's hard, and so I just thought I would, yeah. And then I just stayed there. And then all of a sudden and he had great clients. And so I just kind of trained doing that. And then I got laid off and went to an agency. And then I started to learn that. Yeah, it was.
So sometimes it's by necessity rather than by choice.
Totally. Yeah. Part of me was following the money. I took the easy route,
So speaking of pivoting, we have a lot of photographers shooting still. How essential is it to also have motion in your repertoire?
Me again. I think it's huge. If you don't shoot it yourself, connect with the DP who does. And I just did a test today with one of my photographers and a DP that I've worked with to connect the two of them and let them learn each other. We were doing some portraits and motion portraits, moving portraits, if you will. But really big because almost everything is going content. Strict ad work isn't necessarily happening as much anymore. If you're not doing it, you're behind. It's just the honest truth. If you can do it yourself and you have one camera and you can do both, great. If you're not equipped to do both or you don't want to do both, partner up with a DP. Find somebody you like, find somebody you trust, and start testing. It's easy enough to do. If anyone wants help, come to Rosemount, have coffee.
Yeah. What are some of the trends that you're finding in content creation as a creator or as a purchaser? What's the thing? GIFs, animated GIFs were the thing before. Are they still a thing?
Yeah, stills, motion, and drone. If you can have all of that in your little crew, and the small and nimble thing is still a big deal. I shouldn't say it's a big deal. It's smart. because of budget. Budget is always at the bottom line, and I know producers are always the bad guys, but usually it's not that we're creating a budget that's low. We're given a budget that's low, and we have to make it work. And so the more nimble your team is, the smaller the people, the more money you'll have. So it's really about trying to find a team or create a team or be the person. And I don't like to have one person do everything because, again, we also need job security. We need to hire people and keep our network as big as we can as well. So if one person is trying to get all the work by themselves and not hiring a digi if they can, or a DP if they can, or a drone if they can, you have to still try to work with as many people as you can so we still have a community. That's really important, and it's a good reminder, even for people who hire crew, producers, directors, photographers, agency, because if we aren't using our people, we're going to lose them. So we have to look out for each other that way. But back to it, drone, stills, motion. I can sell a team like that. I can make it work. I can give more assets. And in the end, that's what they want. They want all the assets. So
let's talk about money. What's changed in budgets? Are budgets higher, lower, pre-COVID, post-COVID? What are, usage rights? What's happening with that? Sarah.
It's all so different for each client. I don't think you can lump it all into one thing. I'm working on several budgets for several different shoots right now, and it's like, I don't know. It's a lot of education to client too, of just being like, this is how much this costs. They're like, oh, okay. It's stuff like that. It's getting there, but it's all up and down and different.
Agreed. For me, I work the still side a little bit still. Mostly I'm working as a director and sometimes a director that also shoots stills. Every job is really different. I did a small job 2 weeks ago down in Texas with a 3-person crew. The job before that, there's 30 people on the crew, right? So there's different jobs coming from different markets for different purposes. And as a creator, you have to decide what makes sense for your business, what makes sense for your style of work, what makes sense for the client, what can you sell. You can go in with your 30-person crew and be underbid by someone with a much more nimble crew. And that's not to say one is better or the other. It's just that's what the client wants. So you have to figure out where you want to sit in the space and if you want to change within the spaces, right? So like Chelsea said, every single job has a different need, and I find it really difficult to sometimes evaluate that. Sometimes people will tell you right up front when they call you in for a gig, this is what we want and this is our budget. Can you make it work, right? And then sometimes you get to throw darts and you have no idea what sort of production they're looking for or can afford or want. And you could do the job different ways, but the best thing is to ask questions and have people working with you and executive producers that can help you flush some of that out, I think, is how I approach it.
That makes sense. What would you say would be must-have tools or skills in the world of content creation right now?
Yeah, going back to motion or a knowledge of motion. And I would say a lot of the stuff that we even hire people for is like sometimes you don't have to be an amazing videographer to create motion. Like you just have to start playing with it and understanding it. Even as like a still photographer is just an understanding of what we're asking for and what's happening on set.
Yeah, I would say technically stills and motion is the bulk of our work, but also an ability to offer some flexibility within a job to show producers in an agency what the different sweet spots are, because sometimes it's okay if the fee's a little bit more as long as the production is intact, and sometimes it's a really moving it's a moving landscape. But another thing that I've stumbled across a lot is being able to shoot 16:9 and get the 1x1, because 16:9 on Instagram is just dead, you know, and everybody wants it. And when we miss it, or anybody misses it, like if we don't make that clear from the start on the agency side, it's so much trouble. Yeah. All the way through post, when the job has been billed and everything, you're just like, oh my God, what are we going to do now?
Yeah, just shoot wide, everything wide. You get crop in.
Because the two entities, you know, stills and motion are kind of like hybrid now. They're very different worlds. They have different names for different things on either side. So it's also good to kind of understand the language of motion if you're a stills person, or the stills language if you're a motion person. And just, you know, like what a gaffer is versus a lighting tech, or, you know, there's some things that translate to both sides, but you also have to get educated. I had to get educated on the motion side real quick. And Chelsea's going through that right now on the agency side. So as a producer, I had to learn it. Some of our stills people are learning it when they start to do some of the motion things, and or we hire both. Like I'll hire a photo assistant and a gaff, and then the grips can do the same thing. So it's also just educating yourself about how those two worlds can connect, the language, the players.
And there's no dumb question. I think I tiptoed around my agency for a while. I was like, I'm stupid if I don't know this. But then one day I was like, can somebody just tell me what CTV is? And they're like, oh, connected TV. I'm like, which is? And they're like, Hulu ads. I'm like, so it's just like broadcast without broadcast, right? Okay, cool. Like, you know, so many acronyms are thrown around, but it's okay to ask. And like, I've just gotten better at like, what does this mean? Because some people shorten everything and stuff. Another thing I would say for content is stop motion is really big right now too, with a lot of social things. And yeah, it's been fun to play around with, but it would be tricky to learn and kind of navigate through too. So
I've noticed too in that there has been a little bit of blending on those worlds as far as what some of the business terms are. For example, someone who wanted to charge usage for a video and yet wanted a production fee on top also. So it's kind of like, okay, can you have it both ways? What are the things that are going on out there? People are they confused, or are they trying to start something new?
I think it's both, right? It's confusion and trying to figure out to navigate, like, where is this living and how is it living and where is it going to be truly used at? And it's just really having really good communications with your media team if you're on the agency side. But like, yeah.
And then working with the producer.
And really, you know, I love connections with great producers like Bobby, where we can like, I can just send an email and be like, hey, can we just talk for 15 minutes and just hash this out and figure out like, where is this truly going to live and what are we talking about? So just communication.
Yep. Kelsey, are you shooting motion too?
Yes, but I would not say that I'm a video production. Like there's this line between, because clients will come to me and say we want photos and video. And video is a really loose term because they could see an animation that was photos. And sometimes I'll push them that way because I'm like, you do understand if we're going to do video, it will make your budget 3 times what it is. And that's just, is it really that important? And if it is, absolutely. Are you wanting to do something that feels really high end and you're wanting to do it in a day? Do we have a whole other team come in? So for me, I do motion, but I do it's a lot of animation or short clips, anything under like, I would say 30 seconds, where it's just kind of playing off of like photos in motion, but not a commercial. I'm not having to make a huge treatment, just like a quick story that makes it live on social.
So are treatments still a thing?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And are they on every shoot, big shoots, little shoots? How important is it to create a treatment?
I think very. I think very. As a producer, Dave sees more of it, but I will have to get them from my shooters to provide to the agency. And a good treatment can go a long way. And a good treatment does not have to be big and long and lengthy and wordy and overthought. It can be concise and beautiful and simple, and meaningful.
Yeah, I was going to say, for those who don't know what a treatment is, what is it and what would be involved in a good treatment?
Well, I think I want Dave to speak to that. Yes. He does more treatments than I do. Sorry, Dave.
I like massage and acupuncture personally. No, I think the most important part for me that I've learned the hard way is that a treatment can't carry everything. A creative call, like a meaningful door closed creative call with the artist, is super important. And then the treatment that they put together is usually, it's either a cloud-based, a web-based, Google-based, or a PDF that they would send that has stills, some text that describes what they're going to do. Some people go the extra mile and throw in like client colors, and that stuff is really, it's nice if you have the time to do it, but depending on the size of the job, I mean, treatments can take a while. And so if we do need a robust one, where I sit, we're fine with paying for them. Like if you need a few days and you need a person to come in and help you put this thing together, and you might need to shoot some stuff or assemble some things and find stuff,
So
we're fine with that.
So to back it up just a little bit, a treatment would be a document. It could be a one-page document. It could be a multiple-page PowerPoint presentation. But basically, it's showing the photographer or content creator is showing the client how they would approach that project, kind of what their vision might be, how they would solve what they've been asked to shoot. So it's whatever it takes. Sometimes it's verbiage. Sometimes it's mood boards that you might include in there. Sometimes it's showing the type of talent you would hire. Sometimes it shows a location. You want to give enough information that you're not telling them how to do it, because that, if you don't get the job, then you've just given them free information. But it's enough for them to understand why they would hire you for this job. How would you match my creative vision with your creative vision? And then we come up with this wonderful content.
And we, in my experience, we show a lot of those to clients. We want to show them, like, here's what people did, and so it isn't. This happens sometimes. I've heard of it. It isn't fishing for ideas. It's like we really want to show what different people want to do and why we're recommending someone over another. Yeah.
So, from my perspective, I've written a lot of treatments over the years, and so typically it's a triple bid. So typically there's two other people in the running for the project that you're looking at. Typically they do a call with you, and they answer your questions about the shoot, what they're going to need, if it's video or stills, either way. You have that call, and then your response to the call is your treatment. Right? So it's your chance to show them what you're going to do, how are you going to do it, what it's going to look like. And me personally, for a big job, it wouldn't be unusual for me to spend a whole week on a single treatment. And that, it sounds like a lot, and you're only 1/3 right in on this job. You don't know if you're going to get it. And so it's problematic sometimes in the industry, but I also love doing treatments, because when I get to that last call with them and I get to present my treatment to the creative team, like, I know their job inside and out. I've thought through it all. I know what I'm bringing to the table, and I've thought through my value and why I think I'm the person for the job. So I find it, when I do land the jobs, all the work that I did in the treatment really pays off on set and in production and in post. So I really like doing them for jobs that I want to land.
Kelsey, were you going to say something? Well, I think we're going to start taking some questions right now. Jake, you've got.
It's one of these with a question on it. Wow, seriously.
And again, we can hand a mic over as well. So, is there someone who has a question from the audience here? Yeah, come on up, Jockey.
So, you mentioned before having different kind of skills, and you've obviously come from very different backgrounds. But is there any skills in particular, maybe not photo related or producer related, that have really helped out in your work, or maybe that you picked up along the way from whatever work you may be doing?
Yeah, networking. Networking is 100%. Fun fact, Sally Mars was hired by, no, how did it go? Anyways, long story short, Sally Mars is a producer in town. She was a client of mine at the gallery in LA. We became friends. She said, oh, you'd be a great producer. I had no idea what it was. Then I came to town and I talked to Dave, and then I started producing. And Sarah has obviously produced for Sarah. Sally has, Sarah, sorry, I'm mixing up my words. Whatever. Long story short, there's a huge group of people that have all met each other, networked each other, gotten jobs for and through each other. And it's really important to just network. I think that is going to be the way to leapfrog into positions or jobs. I'm constantly looking for new crew. Almost everyone I hire goes to Target, and I have to go find new people. So I'm always looking for new people, grooming new people. It's an industry you can get into without any experience, or you can be very experienced. But I think it's really connecting with people and just working through, maybe your skill set is PA, but then all of a sudden you stylist assist. So I think networking is the biggest thing you can do in this industry. Just meet people, connect, tell them who you are.
And on that note, when you're networking, tell us what your hobbies are and what you do, because you never know where it comes in handy on a shoot later or what I might need you for, right? Because I just, when I know people's side hustles and what they do, it's like, oh my God, they do that too. Cool. So,
Sarah.
I was just going to say one thing that I learned along the way was to really become friends with my peers, people doing that I'm bidding against that are doing similar work. Some of those people have become really valuable to me personally, and in terms of being able to ask questions about work, or sometimes we pick up the phone and we say, hey, are you up for this job? Me too, and when it can be friendly, and it's just really kind of a beautiful thing, I think. And I think it's important it's easy to fall into competitiveness, and I don't think it serves in such a small community.
and on that note too, it's like that way, if like you were already booked for a job, you can refer your friends on to the next thing. Be like, hey, I'm booked, but these people are great. And I'd love to have that recommendation from a photographer that I'm trying to bid out.
So someone in the audience is wondering, how busy are each of you right now? So would like to hear from each person.
Well, I hustle all the time. I have 3 kids. I'm a single mom. I pay the bills, so I have to work. And so I produce, I freelance art buy, I art consult. I just did some underwater prop styling because we had 0 budget, and I was like, I'll do that. So I stay busy because I work to find work.
Yeah, our agency is very busy right now, but I feel like I counter that with my own personal busy, which isn't this my version of healthy. I have several weddings on the books for this summer, and I keep my clientele. It's just side stuff I like to do, and yeah, but you need to balance the client crazy busy with things that you like to be busy with. So.
I just got off of a job, but I'm open for like the next week and a half. But a month ago, I was booked for 5 weeks straight. So with photography, or at least in my case, it's like you could be really busy and then you could have a week or two off. And I think I kind of like it because you work really hard and sometimes you're just like ready to just kind of refresh. I think as creatives, when we're bored, we become really creative. So if we don't have time to become bored, we kind of become burnt out. So there's like a big influx of creativity, pushing, and then stopping. So it really depends on the season for me, but.
Yeah, and the agency, Carmichael's really busy. I'm kind of slow right now. And at this point in my life, there really isn't any separation between my life and work. There aren't a lot of guardrails there. And so I'm pretty careful where I put my attention. And I try to do everything a lot slower than the rat race up here thinks I need to do it. So I would prefer to say I'm kind of slow.
I had a really nice, solid 2022, and pretty much by the end of January every year, I wander around the house and tell my husband I'm never working again. Sometimes it gets a lot worse in February. I'm just like convinced it's over, and then I plan spring break, and then I get a job. But in all seriousness, it has been a slow start to 2023 for me. And I think our industry, you know, when there's talk of recession, when there's recession fears, I think our industry closes up early and comes out late. And from the people that I've spoken to in the industry, I don't think that I'm unusual in having a soft first quarter.
Yeah, I just want to say one more thing too. It is slow out there. So if I'm saying I'm busy because I'm hustling, it's because it's slow out there and I have to work really hard. But don't feel like you're not working because everyone else is working and it's you personal. I think that's the hardest thing for freelancers is our ego's like, it's me. And it's not. It's the industry. Like I think Kelsey said, when you start getting emails from people checking in, hey, my availability, I see more of those all the time. But what I can also tell you, or at least what I'm hearing too, is work is coming. Like that Q4 spending is going to open up. They have to spend it, or how's it go? Use it or lose it.
Right.
So I think it's going to be a busy summer into fall, knock on wood. Just hang in there. And, you know, keep your mind busy. Do something that keeps you happy. Go to movies. Go see your art. Go to the museums. Be inspired. Take walks. Do things that mentally are going to keep you above water and happy, and don't get down in the trenches. It's really easy to as a freelancer. People who have, you know, agency jobs, which is great, don't feel what us freelancers feel. And I know that, you guys. I've been there. I've had slow months, 4 or 5 months at times. So we're all in that same boat together. But another reason to connect, go out to coffee, just try to just stay positive and connect with people, stay motivated, network. Just use that time to, like, you know, fill yourself up.
You answered one of the next questions, which is, do you set personal time when you don't work? And then the follow-up again is, what do you do when you...
I play pickleball.
Yeah.
2 hours a day right now, every morning. And then I start working around 10. If any clients are here, I start working earlier than that. But
Yeah. And Sarah?
You know, it's difficult for all of us, and I think you have to be kind to yourself. And it goes back to what I was saying earlier about having peers that you can speak to, even if they're busy and you're slow. It's still good to have people to speak with.
Another question from the audience is, advice for people who find social media to be overwhelming.
Do it however you want to do it, because it's social media and you do not have to adhere to an algorithm or a trend. If it's overwhelming, that's okay, but just show up however you want to show up. But if you don't want to show up at all, find a different way to show up for people and show your work. That
was really well said. I agree. everyone will tell you how you have to do it. And for photographers, often that is showing your most recent work right away. And that doesn't work for everybody. So take your time.
And people really care about seeing you. Like at the end of every year, I always do like, what is your top 9 from the year? And it's never my work. It is always photos of myself or me and my son, which I'm like, what? It's kind of like, has no one seen what I'm doing? But really, it's because people want to see you. And if the more people see your face, that I feel like the more they're comfortable with hiring you. It's just because they're like, oh, I feel like I know what you're going to be like on set, even if it's a still image. It's really interesting. Which, like, another note to that, if I may, it's sometimes hard for me to hire if I go to somebody's website and there's not a bio photo, I'm like, who are you? I have no idea. I don't need you to be glamorous. I don't need you to look a certain way, but like, just show me a photo of yourself. Do you agree?
Yeah. I was also going to say, if you loathe social media, shout out to my husband, and you don't want to show up that way, make a gallery, privatize it, have a friend run it for you. It doesn't matter. Like, if there's some people who just loathe social media, and maybe you have a friend that you trust that would run your page for you, let them post for you. Who cares? Like, just, it's getting your work out there in a way. It doesn't have to be you.
And keep in mind, social media is free. $0. It's your time, but it's free, and it could reach, who knows? You have no idea where that social media will post. So I always suggest people use social somehow, some way. Mm-hmm. But again, you don't have to do it yourself. But it is free advertising, and it's a free way to connect. And I've definitely gotten work through there, and I've hired people through it.
Mm-hmm. Something to keep in mind is that even if you have 10 people who are following you, it's almost like 10 people saying, I want you to advertise to me, which is a powerful thing, really, because you're showing them your work. People are opting in to have you advertise to them. And I feel like consistency is king. Yeah. Like, because every time sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. And don't hyper focus on the likes or why someone is trending and they're not. It doesn't matter. Like, if you have 10 likes or 1,000 or 100,000, like, you're still showing up, and people who follow you are going to see your work.
And it's, over years, it's always been relationships being super important, and that personal connection, and it seems like more so than ever.
I was just going to say briefly that there's a certain kind of image that does well on social, and it's not always your strongest work, or sometimes you will make a really beautiful image or you think it's beautiful, and it does terribly on social. You're like, what the heck is going? But it's just different things read on a small screen, and I had to consciously make a choice to not let people's Instagram likes impact how I shoot.
And back to the likes thing, it can feel like a reflection of your work. But I remember once I posted a series of kid photos, beauty, and then product, and it was jewelry. And I think I got it was low, whatever the number was, maybe 20 likes. And I was like, it's not even about the likes, but I was like, ooh, no one even saw that. And then in the next 2 months, I got a job for each one of those. So it was like, it's not really about if people are engaging. It's just like, was it seen and swiped by? What a win. It's like if you send a mailer or like a newsletter and it's trashed, at least they saw your name,
Out of sight, out of mind.
Right.
It's always reminders. I remember as buyers, it's even if I kept things pinned up on my wall, sometimes I would just go look at my wall and go, oh, that's right, Sarah. And then that helped me remember. So social media, relationships, coffees, what's the top thing that wins a gig?
I think it's really interesting for Oh, Jake's got it. Oh, it's your question.
Yeah.
I think it's different for different buyers, right? But I think what's really interesting is a lot of times there's a persona that people are buying in photography, and that could be real or not, but people have an image of who you are and how you'll work and what you're going to deliver stylistically. And it's a whole package. I don't know that you can boil it down to one thing unless that's a dollar amount.
In my experience, it's the creative team knows. They just kind of know, and that's fine. And don't try to think your way through that. just follow your heart and do your coolest stuff, that you think is appropriate, and communicate clearly about what it is you're bringing to the table, and then you've done the work. There's no like magic kind of thing. It's almost like, my wife's a fine artist and she used to apply for a lot of grants, and it's almost like, why did I get the grant? Like, why did these 5 people on this sitting at this table vote for me, or didn't vote for me, which is the thing that'll keep you up at night. But just there's nothing you can do where you can figure it out. If you bring in your best stuff and you're clearly communicating it, you're fine.
So let's talk about that food chain on the agency side. So who makes that final decision on who to use? Is it you?
It's usually the executive creative director in my experience, or the client. And it's usually the client's usually pushed in a certain direction by whoever is creative directing that project.
So is it worth for content creators to reach out to those people as well as you?
No, and yes, sure. They're just exponentially more busier than I am. And it's just harder to have them singly focus on what's important and what cool things that you all are bringing to the table. I would consider us like gateway, right? We're like the gatekeepers, which sounds kind of weird, but like it's true. Like it's a great way for us, and it's easy for me to be like, yo, look at this cool guy, like look at his work, and they're like, send me his Instagram, and I'm like, look at this, that's the easiest way.
So how much influence do you have?
A lot. Yeah. Yeah, enough. Yeah.
Do we have questions from the audience or from online either? Okay. One other question here is, do you see, we were talking about how busy people are. Do you see a local industry downturn coming? And what long-term trends do you see unfolding? Two-part question.
Well, I think we're in the downward trend. I think we're at the bottom of it. I'm hoping it's going to turn around. So stay positive. What was the other question?
And then what long-term trends do you see unfolding?
Oh, it's that triple whammy, stills motion drone. Because almost every job that I'm bidding on now is stills generally. Then, can they do motion? Do you have a DP? And now I'm getting, do they do drone? So it really is kind of all three. And again, we can do the big 30-man crews just fine, but budget-wise, I'm not seeing those budgets as often. Every now and again. And obviously, some of the shooters I work with and clients I work with are different than, say, the one Sarah works with. So we have different experiences there. I don't mind producing the big jobs, but honestly, the smaller, more nimble ones are just easier. We can do more. We can travel faster. There's less details for me to manage. So I personally like working with the smaller teams. And when you have a nice, small, nimble team that works fluidly together, it's magic. And it's not that bigger teams can't do it. They obviously can do it. It just takes a little longer. There's more communication, and you can't pivot as quickly. Like if you need to try to get, like, say, a sunset, and you want to then also get the drone up, and then, it's just more layers.
I would say too, we're working really hard on the agency side to retrain our clients into thinking and understanding that we need these bigger crews again. I think during COVID, everything was so condensed and broken down and had to be really safe on things. And they were like, well, we did it like that before. How come we just can't do it like that? And it's a lot. We're having those conversations with our clients where we're being because it's not healthy and it's not sustainable. And if you want this kind of work and you want it to look like this, you have to work towards it and you have to pay for it to get it. So it's coming.
So if we had to create a word cloud right now, in conclusion, what would be the words that you would use? I would say relationship, And what else? What would be in the word cloud?
Flexibility.
Listening.
Social media. Bobby said networking. Chelsea?
Yeah, just networking and showing up.
Staying positive.
Creating.
And creating. Thank you, panelists. Amazing insights. Thank you so much. Much appreciated.
So there's one more relevant. Sorry, my cord is short, like me. I'm just going to jump in real quick. This is a one answer for everyone down the run. This is like speed date 101.
Woo.
Website versus Instagram.
Oh, really? That's hard.
I just purity.
Website.
Both. Instagram brings me to your website.
Check.
Okay. Both.
Oh, why am I using yours? I feel like website is more satisfying. It's kind of like going to, website.
I know.
2 words.
Both.
That's 1 word, but better yet.
Both.
Sweet. Thank you all. We have another question which we're not going to address today because we need a whole another month for that, and that is, any thoughts on AI affecting our industry?
None, because it's too dangerous right
No.
now. We're not paying for it. Yep.
Yeah. Now, like I said, another subject. But thank you for that question. So I want to just give these folks some serious love. Thank you. So no one's left, which is pretty amazing, I think. So we're into the fun part, which is the door prizes, and the door was swinging wide tonight. So I need 2 people, one to pick tickets and one to read their numbers from this amazing audience and get your numbers handy.
Don't be shy.
Getting the bowl. What are our prizes, Jake? And just a side note, we have to do an extra plug for ASMP relationships and learning and things like AI. That's on the ASMP website for members, and it's an amazing resource and community.
Yeah, and if you're not a member, there's sick resources for everything from marketing, strategy, legal advice, and during the COVID storm, which we're still in, serious navigation around all of that as well. So if you're not a member and you're interested, circle back with anybody with one of these on, or go to the website and check it out. So without further ado, we have our first swell door prize. This is supplied by West Photo, one of our awesome sponsors, which keeps giving, which is epic. This is a color checker duo passport, which is for motion and stills. This gives you neutral content. And you are free to trade amongst yourselves based on your needs and these door prizes. On that note, Carl, our first number is for this door prize. Oh, I'm not. Okay.
Okay.
Go.
157097.
Woo! Come on down. To those of you who are joining us on live stream, thank you so much for joining us. We miss you, and we would hug you if you were here. Enjoy, make it correct. Because that's what your clients need. Okay, so now we have the stills, which is equally as valuable, but different. This is Passport 2 Photo Checker, which is primarily for still photography versus still in motion. So depending on skill sets and desires, you can collaborate with your friends who won the other one. So, drum roll.
157121.
Scanning the crowd. You have 5 seconds. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 2, 1. Going? Is anyone in the bathroom? Buddies? All right, we'll deal with PR later. We're going to draw again.
157081.
Boop, 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 boop. I heard gasping. Does that mean we have a winner? Oh, he's leaving. He's had it. Oh, no. Awesome. Again, keep it neutral.
Now do you have the drone color checker?
There's no drone. You're on your own. That's like auto white balance, I think. Been in overcast. Okay, so this is a think tank super ditty. It's cable management 30V 2.0. Multiple stashing departments. If you're not a photographer, this is a crazy cool organizer for God knows what. And I'm not going to give you ideas. So this is courtesy of ASMP, MSP, and all their sponsors.
157106.
Scanning the crowd. Yes. May your ditties be organized.
What's a ditty?
Ditty? Something cool. The rest of it's on, We're public here, folks. Okay, this is a Temba Tools gear pouch, and it actually has 2 sizes, and it's almost plush, so you can cozy with it. But it also has a window for access. This is double trouble.
157093.
In the back. Woo! Yes, we're getting all around the crowd. We cannot exchange the color.
No.
Hey, okay, we have a sponsor as well. Not only a winner, but a sponsor, and she is Studio Q, rental facilities, awesome person, and she might even let you organize with her. Also, while I'm on this subject of our sponsors, I neglected by personal seizure. Very busy. One of our newest sponsors this year is an amazing organizational post-production tool for production and organization, retouching strategy, client, vendor, relationship, workflow, massive organizational stuff. I think Peter's in the house. Still here. Man in the back. Deeply entrenched in workflow. So thank you, Peter, for joining us this year as an annual sponsor of the local chapter. Okay, our next swell door prize is a Western Digital Elements storage simplement.
We call them hard drives.
It's 1 terabyte, people. It's got a 2-year thing. I don't know. Anyway, this is awesome. USB 3. Get it.
157077.
Come on, people. You need this hard drive. Seriously? 5, 4, 3. Number again? No. What? No. The one.
157077.
3, 2, 1. Next.
157120.
Woo! Second row. Keep the memories, baby. All right. Deja vu. And it's still 1 terabyte. Get it.
157068.
Come on, people. We just want to give this stuff away. Yes, here he comes. Mr. Chad. Okay, now that we've given away the cool stuff, this is the really cool stuff. I mean, so who knows what Vision Quest is in this community? Vision Quest, Doug Beasley, a gifted fine art photographer and other things. He is an educator in the most unique way. These are Vision Quest cards. They're photo assignments for personal and spiritual growth. I like to think these are the true key to unlocking creative block, which I'll speak for myself, I suffer from. I'm not going to assume anybody's got that. Anyway, so this is very cool. This is basically a project process.
157119.
Come on, people. Yes! This was not fixed that 2 of our sponsors have actually won. full disclosure.
But if you want to be a sponsor, you know.
And we'd appreciate it if you'd post those on your channel and tag ASMP so we can all benefit. All right, we're now getting into really cool stuff. This is swag from this amazing facility and a supporter of all things creative, Shelter Studios. Shelter. We have, oh, and I just noticed right now that it says Armor Skin, which is not coming off my back because my last name is Armor. Sorry. Shelter grip gloves to keep the splinters out of your fingers.
157103.
Whoop, 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 woo! May your grip be better. Oh my God, we have, okay. Super swag, also from Shelter, this stunning t-shirt. I just have a picture of me in Mexico with one of these on, which I haven't shared yet. If there's a sizing issue, speak to the front desk or we'll sort it out because I can't have all the sizes sitting here. Number is?
157067.
Boop, boop, boop. Nice. Speaking of art and Shelter, swag number 2, another t-shirt.
157098.
Come on, people. Just make it up. We're not checking tickets. No. I shouldn't say that. Seriously. 3, 2, 1.
157079.
Yeah, and we have a squeal, so she should get more, but way to be enthusiastic. Wear it well and be creative. Wow, okay, the hits keep coming. Jeez, I had no idea what was in this box. This is upside down because it's different. Another Shelter swag.
157117.
It's out of focus, people. Come on. I didn't even count now. We're losing it.
157109.
Come on.
All right.
I heard of me. There we go. All right, while we're on a run, clearly the Shelter ink department is rocking things.
Yeah.
I think they want to get new swag.
They're looking to upload. There's new ones coming, apparently. No. But this is a large, people.
157063.
Seriously?
Ask your friends.
I thought people didn't leave. Okay. Again.
157101. There we go.
Yes. You two are like both of you winners right next to each other. You should make sure you get their numbers. All right, now the most important stuff. I mean, no, I didn't say that. We have the ASMP swag, which, modeled by the board. We did not come with the t-shirts. Get it.
157062.
Woo! Again, check with somebody in a lanyard for sizing issues on the ASMP stuff. The Shelter stuff, if you want to talk sizing, speak to the man in the cap and the beard that's saluting us in all our glory over there. I'm not going to go any further. This is crazy. Okay. Whoa, look, more.
157072.
This is a special edition. Coming up. Yes. All right, don't go home yet, people. This is like a bottomless trick here. There's one more after this.
157100. 100.
Did I mention these Yes.
Last one?
Well, there's one more after this, but this is...
The penultimate one.
I have a special treat, yes.
157118.
Come on.
118. The one who
This
ate.
is really hard to give stuff away.
157102.
Tick tock, tick tock. Wow, this is okay. We're setting records here. Third try.
157085. There we go.
Yes, she's up. Awesome. All right, so this is a very spontaneous one we're going to draw. This is a blank card. This is the future. Whatever you write on this on one side, leave the other side blank till you get there. And then call me. That's it.
157076. I don't know if I want that prize.
You don't get one. You're conflict of interest.
Yeah.
We knew that. Okay, so again.
076. Last time?
Oh my God.
157104. There we go.
Sweet. So your big idea, and when it hits, I want to hear about it. Seriously. All right, that is it. Thank you guys so much. ASMP, baby. Peace out. It's a wrap.